Gentlemen, what is going on today? My name is Ryan Mickler. I'm the host and the founder of the Order of Man podcast and movement. I was going to say welcome to the new year, but I don't know as of the release of this podcast if we're in the new year yet. No, it's December 31st. So tomorrow will be the new year. I thought that I would end the year on this podcast with a cap of my most important lessons learned in 2021 and what I'll be doubling down on in 2022. So I'm not going to get into too much today outside of what we're doing here with the podcast, obviously trying to give you the tools and resources and conversations and equipment that you need to become a more effective, capable, strong, independent, rugged man. And also want to make a mention of the new podcast that we have in the Order of Man Network, the empire my family is building. I'm still trying to convince my beautiful wife to get on board. We'll see what we can do there in 2022. But we just released the podcast with my oldest son called Man in the Making. His name is Brecken. And we've got 2 episodes as of the release of this podcast available to you, where we have father-son conversations about sensitive subjects, difficult and challenging topics and conversations, but conversations that you want to have with your boys. So if you're a man listening to this, please make sure you check out Man in the Making, wherever you're listening to this. And if you're a woman who happens to be listening, and we do have some women listening, I would also suggest that if you're specifically a single woman who is raising boys, that you might really enjoy that resource, Man in the Making podcast. That's it. That's all I've got by way of announcements. Guys, let's get into this very, very quickly and efficiently today. I want to talk with you again about the 5 greatest lessons I've learned in 2021, and what I'll be doing moving into 2022. Number 1, guys, consistency. Consistency. You know, it's really easy to say, I don't have any talent, I don't have any resources, and I don't have any connections, and I don't have any wealth, and I don't have any of this, and I don't have any of that. And all of that, look, I'm not going to downplay that. If you have connections, if you have wealth, if you have resources, if you have access to information or things that other people don't have, by all means, use it. You know, when I think about being out into the world and the workforce and trying to grow this podcast and the movement and everything else I'm doing, look, I don't want a fair fight. I want to stack the odds in my favor. So I'll take advantage of every resource I have. But at the end of the day, there's one factor that trumps all of that: your network, your resources, your connections, your wealth, your beauty, your looks, your whatever, your style, your coolness, your X factor. And that is consistency. Guys, if you can be consistent day in and day out and get the things that you want to accomplish done, regardless of how you might feel about them in the moment, you will win. Now, I don't know if you're going to win in the avenue you think you are. It's one of the conversations I had with my guest, Ryan Hawk, who's coming out, and that podcast will be released next week, is that we have these goals and desires and ambitions, and we think if we're just consistent, then we'll achieve those things. We may not. But if you are consistent in your actions and you are deliberate about what you're trying to do, you will inevitably win in a way that's meaningful and important to you. This has been more evident in my life in 3 specific areas. Number 1, the podcast. I was looking today on iTunes, and we have, as of this release, I believe we just hit 850 episodes. Now, hear me when I say that, guys. 850 podcast episodes for 6.5 years. I released an episode every single week. 2 years into it, I released an episode every 2 weeks. Every 1 week. 2 years into it, I released 3 every 1 week. And I have not missed a single podcast episode in 6.5 years. Now, some of you guys will ask, Ryan, how are you successful? And how have you made the podcast what it is? And how have you done this amazing thing? That's how. I'm not any better than you. I'm not a better communicator than you. I'm not more connected than you. I might be now, but that only comes because I've been consistent for 6.5 years. How could I not succeed in doing something and then analyzing? We're going to talk about that in a minute. If I do that for 6.5 years, guys, Like that trumps everything else. It's shown up in the podcast. It's shown up in jujitsu. I just trained last night. Man, I was feeling great. I was rolling around and I felt limber and I was moving well and I was flowing and I was hitting submissions. That's not every class, by the way, but I was feeling good last night. Well, damn, I should be feeling good. I have been consistently going for 3 to 4 days per week for 3 years. It isn't any surprise to me. Somebody asked me that. Ryan Hawk, actually, on the podcast that's going to be released next week, asked me that. And he asked if I was surprised about the success that I've seen with Order of Man. I'm not surprised. Why would I be surprised? I've been consistent. I've been doing the work. I've been religiously putting out content and information and trying to improve and analyzing my growth and analyzing my performance for 6.5 years. At jiu-jitsu, I've been 3 to 4 weeks for 3 years. There's one other facet of life that this has showed up just recently is as I write my next book, which will come out in September of 2022. Guys, I write no less than 1,000 words per day. And I've done that for about 30 days now. Now, admittedly, I've missed a couple of days, but you know what I did? I went in there right after and I caught back up. So this is going to be released December 31st. I have 32,000 words of my book written because I write no less than 1,000 words per day. And if I missed a day, I go back and I catch up. Writing is not something that comes naturally for me. It's not something I particularly enjoy as much as being behind a microphone or in front of a video camera, but I'll tell you what, it's getting better. It's becoming seamless. I'm getting into a flow. I'm becoming more efficient with the words that I write. I'm becoming more effective with what I put on the paper. Why? Because I'm doing it every day. So that's my number one greatest lesson of 2021. Just be consistent. That's it. If you want to build a better relationship, be consistent. If you want to lose fat and build strength, be consistent in the gym. If you want to get better at jiu-jitsu, go to jiu-jitsu. If you want to be a better writer, write. If you want to run, run. If you want to be a podcaster, podcast every day. I podcast at this point every single day. And that's why I'm good at it. You might think that's arrogant. You might think that's ego. No, it isn't. It's confidence, actually. Arrogance and ego can be manufactured. I could play that shit up. Confidence can't be created out of thin air. It can't be manufactured. It can't be faked. It's earned. And I've earned the level of confidence I have because I've been consistent in my work. All right. Number 2, your network is crucial, guys. There isn't a better resource on the planet outside of you. All right. So you're number 1. Number 2 is your network. It's not your real estate. It's not your Bitcoin portfolio or your crypto portfolio. It's your network. It's not your business. It's your network. It's who you know. It's who you're connected with. Because I'll say one thing. If for whatever reason, Order of Man shut down tomorrow, there was some sort of legislation or I didn't feel like doing it anymore or nobody was interested in it anymore and we just shut the thing down tomorrow, I'd be okay. Why? Because I have a powerful network of hundreds, if not thousands of men who I could tap into, who I can connect with, who I've been adding value to over the past 6.5 years. And I've made myself indispensable, guys. I know powerful people. I know important people. I know well-connected people. I know profitable people. I know business owners. Again, this is going to sound, I'm hearing this in my own mind and I'm thinking maybe this sounds a little bit arrogant, and it might, but you know what? The risk is worth me telling you what you need to do to be successful. And the ability to build a powerful network by adding value to other people's lives cannot be overstated. It's so crucial. Who do you know? Who knows you? Who are you valuable to? That's actually a really important question. It's not only who you know, because the old adage is it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's not even that. It's not who you know. It's who you're valuable to. So are you looking for ways to solve other people's problems? Because the more you do that, the better connected that you'll be. And you're doing a couple of things. Number 1, you're giving yourself opportunity. Number 2, you're hedging your bets. If something goes south in Order of Man, for example, or some other facet of my life, finances, maybe my health, whatever, I've got a network of people that are going to help me, that are going to make sure I'm okay, because I've been doing the same thing for them. for 6.5 years. Now, granted, I don't do it with the expectation or anticipation of anything in return, but I know the universe has a way of returning what you give to it, karma, negative or positive. And I try to put a lot of positive out in the world. And what I would encourage you as we move into 2022 is think about your current network and think about how you can improve the network that you have. Number 3, guys, question everything. Everything is smoke and mirrors. Everything is delusion. Everything is marketing. Everything is not exactly what it seems. We know this because of the reaction to COVID. All right. We hear the things like trust the science, which has become more of a religious cult than actual science and data. We know that. And so many of us look to resources that we trust or have some level of belief in, and we just blindly follow it. Guys, question everything. Question COVID, question Fauci, question Biden, question Trump, question Fox, question CNN. Damn, question me. A healthy dose of skepticism is going to serve you well. I wrote a book, I believe it came out in 2017, called Sovereignty, The Battle for the Hearts and Minds of Men. And I talk about this concept in the book. Question everything. Have skepticism. I'm not saying be a pessimist. I'm not saying you need to believe everything is horrible and everyone is bad and everybody's out to get you, but damn if you don't question everything. It's like Ronald Reagan once said, trust but verify. You know, you can trust me to some degree because you've been listening for any amount of time, but verify that shit. You know, if you hear me say something and you're like, I don't know about that, then go out and look for some other opportunities or resources that might pitch a different perspective to you, and then make your own decisions. Guys, I don't want you to blindly follow me. I don't want you to take everything I have to say at heart, because if you do that, then I'm imagining you're probably doing that in other facets of your life, with your wife, with your boss, with the president, with the media, with social media, with some influencer you see online on the interwebs. I don't want you to do that, guys. I want you to question everything. Now, there's a fine line here, because I know a lot of people who question, but they're pessimists, right? So they ask questions, but they don't actually do it with an honest and sincere intent. They're trying to trap and trick and manipulate. That's different. Like if you're coming to the table and you're asking a question, but it's not an honest question, and you know what that is, I don't need to explain that to you. At least I shouldn't have to. That's different than just having a healthy dose of skepticism and being aware of what's actually going on in the world. I mean, if you aren't, for example, questioning COVID at this point, or I should say the reaction to COVID, man, I don't know what to tell you. And I don't care what side of the aisle you sit on. Like, wake up, wake the hell up, guys. It isn't what it seems. Obviously, clearly, I thought it was obvious. I think it's common sense, but apparently it isn't. So wake up and really try to figure out what in the world is going on. Look at the motives of individuals. You know, take my motive, for example. This is a business. I'm trying to grow my business. I'm trying to grow the empire. I'm trying to put food on the table. I'll always be honest with you about that. I don't make any qualms about that or try to hide that fact. This is not a nonprofit. Question nonprofits too, by the way. But this is a business. And so I'm trying to grow the business. I'm trying to make money. Now, granted, I feel like the best way to do that is to add value into your life, because this is a voluntary exchange between two consenting adults, you as a man and me as a man. And if you think I have something of value, whether it's a hat or a shirt or the Iron Council or an event or whatever, listening to me on the podcast, good. Like, that's the value you're going to add to me. Now, the value I'm going to add to you is that I'm going to try to give you information, tools, and resources to thrive and succeed in life. I don't make any qualms about that at all. But you need to understand what the motives of people are, because if you don't at least attempt to understand what their motives are, you don't know their angle. You don't know their play. And the better you know their play, the better decisions you as a man can make. So what's the play of the government? Not to liberate you. Who thinks that? Like, honestly, who thinks the role of the government is to liberate you? It isn't. But the goal of the government is to feed off of you. The goal of the media isn't to give you accurate, truthful, honest information. We think that, but that's not the goal of the media. The goal of the media is to get your attention and your eyeballs so they can sell that attention and those resources to advertisers. You need to know that. I'm not saying turn off the news. Maybe you should, but at least limit it. but you ought to at least know the motive. And then you're more well equipped to make an informed decision about how you spend your time, attention, energy, and resources. All right. So that was number 3. So number 1, consistency. Number 2, your network is crucial. Number 3, question everything. Number 4, your intuition, gentlemen, is underrated. We hear this when we hear trust the science, right? Like you should trust the data, you should trust the science. And you see all these individuals out there who are giving you all the research and all the support and all the data. And that stuff's good. You should have that. But don't ever look the power of your intuition. There are things that you're going to do in life, or at least move towards or consider and contemplate doing, that you're going to feel great about and you're going to feel bad about. Yes, you should pore over the data. Yes, you should be logical and rational about it. But your intuition is a component of your life that you ought to be considering. If something feels off, there's something to that. And you ought to put some weight behind that. I've made some decisions, some great decisions this year that that did feel right. I couldn't quantify it. I couldn't wrap the data around it. I couldn't make the numbers work, but it felt right. And so I moved forward, and I'm glad I made those decisions. And then there's been other parts of my life where things have felt off. They felt wrong. They felt sketchy. Like on paper, everything looked good, but it just didn't feel good. And I bowed out of that. And maybe I've missed some opportunities, but I can assure you that the amount of opportunities that I've missed because I haven't listened to my intuition is insignificant relative to the amount of opportunities or problems that I've avoided because I have listened to my intuition. So guys, listen. I think it's divine. I think it comes from God. You might call it a sixth sense. You might call it your conscience. You might call it the universe or the muse or Jiminy Cricket for all I care. But there's something there. And men need to understand that. We need to be aware of that. There's some spiritual element. Again, I think it's God. There's some spiritual element directing and dictating and guiding and moving us and manipulating us and helping us make good decisions and keeping us from making poor decisions. Don't neglect it. Listen to it. Act on it. And as you do, that intuition, or the Holy Spirit is what I call it, the voice only gets louder. It only becomes more compelling. It only becomes more accurate as you act on it. But you have to act on it. At a minimum, you have to take it into consideration. And so if something feels right, consider moving in that direction, then finding the data and the information to support it. If something feels wrong, consider scaling back and just detaching, disengaging for a little bit, because there's a reason you're feeling off and weird about it. You may not be able to quantify it, but it's certainly there. Your intuition is underrated. And guys, the last lesson I'm going to give you today, and there's been a lot of lessons, but the last lesson I'm going to give you today is that you need to plan every single morning and every single night, without fail, without compromise, non-negotiable. Plan every single morning, plan every single night. I don't care what tool you use. I don't care if you use our battle planner or Andy Frasilla's got his power list, and Jesse Itzler's got his year mapping thing that he does that he talked about in our podcast together. Like, everybody has something they use. I don't care what you use. Use whatever works for you. If it's our battle planner, great. If it's something else, great. But guys, plan every single morning. Sit down for 10 minutes is all it takes. Sit down. What do I need to get done today? What's the priority? If I only get 1 or 2 things accomplished, what's the 1 or 2 things that it needs to be? At the end of the day, go back and ask yourself, what did you get done? What changed? What priorities changed? What tasks presented themselves that I wasn't aware of 12 hours earlier? Plan every single morning, every single night. That's going to take you 20 minutes of the day. 20 minutes. I talked about it earlier on the podcast on the Ask Me Anything. We waste so much time on the pot. We waste so much time on social media. We waste so much time in transitioning between different activities. And we just dink around watching shows. If you can't carve out 20 minutes out of your day, I don't know what to tell you. Guys, plan out your day. Cap out your day. You are going to be more effective. You're going to make more money. You're going to have a more significant relationship. You're going to be able to be more efficient and effective. You're going to develop and build confidence because you're doing the work that needs to be done. But damn, plan every morning and every single night. Don't miss it for 365 days. That goes back to point number one, consistency. Just do that. Commit to that right now. It's December 31st, starting today, tonight. Plan it out and do that for 365 days. Get a calendar, slap it on your wall, use your Google Calendar, use whatever you use, slap that thing on the wall and literally put a check mark through it every time you plan out your morning and you plan out your night. If you do that for 365 days, I guarantee that come December 31st, 2022, you are going to be in a significantly better position than you are December 31st, 2021. Commit to that. Not to me. I don't want you to commit to me because I don't have a dog in your fight. You do. Commit to yourself. Be a man of your word. Do something that's actually going to change your life. You want a New Year's resolution? That's it. I commit every single day this year to plan out my morning and plan out my night, whether I'm at work, whether it's the weekend, whether I'm on vacation, whether I'm on the moon. I don't care. Plan out every single morning and every single night. It's going to change each day, obviously, based on what you have to do. But if you plan out mornings and nights, you will win. Period. Bottom line. I thought about something that I wanted to share with you as a bonus. So I told you I was going to share 5 strategies, but something is a bonus here. I want you to consider that marketing is very, very important. So I'm shifting gears here a little bit. Marketing is very, very important. Whether you're marketing a business, whether you're marketing yourself for promotion or to secure the attention of a beautiful, lovely woman, to have your kids listen to you, marketing is crucial, guys. And so many people overlook it. You think the content alone is enough, whether the content's the book you're writing or the email that you send or the work that you do, or even who you are as a man is enough. And look, it's important. The content of who you are and what you're putting into the world is important, but if nobody will see it because you don't market it well, then that's a problem. So this comes down to your personal appearance, which I just did a podcast with my friend Tanner Guzzi several weeks ago. It was a very controversial podcast because we talked about the importance of the way you present yourself, how you look, how you communicate, what your grooming says, what the clothes that you wear say about you. That's marketing, guys. If you're writing a book, I'm interviewing, for example, Matt Fraser a little later today. I mean, that's solid. Like, take a look at that. That's a solid book cover. That's marketing. If that looked like dog crap, nobody's going to read this at all. If the way that I present myself to you on this podcast is inferior and insignificant, then that's a problem. So some of you guys, let me give you an example. Some of you guys have pointed this out right here. Yeah, this is a problem. Okay. I haven't got to it yet, but I will. This right here is a problem. I got to put the trim on. I got to finish this edge up because the way that I present myself, you might say, well, Ryan, I shouldn't judge a book by its cover. And the same guys who will say that will also criticize this raw, rough edge around my trim right here. So what is it? You shouldn't judge a book by its cover, or the book cover is actually important? It's important. The way that we present ourselves is all marketing. You want your kids to listen to you, you got to market better. That's by being an example. That's by showing who you are. You want your wife to be inspired by you. You got to market yourself better. You want people, your clients, to buy from you. You got to market yourself better. You want to build out that network. You got to market yourself better. It's crucial. The way that you look, your persona, the way that you show up. And I'm not talking about manufacturing or faking these things. I'm talking about being the best representation of who you actually are inside, manifesting that on the outside. That's my 6th strategy and tactic. That one's probably not going to be popular, but it's important. And so you can ignore it. You can mock it. You can ridicule it. You can say, oh, it's stupid. Oh, market. Oh, what are you talking about? Like the way I look. Yeah, you can do all that. Or you can say, oh, maybe there's something to it, and then implement it and see if it actually works. Question everything, right? If you're thinking that's stupid, question that. Is it really? Or should you consider it? Point number 3, right? Question everything. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you today. Time to get after it. December 31st. January 1st, it all starts over again. The clock resets. We wipe the slate clean. You did some good things last year. You did some bad things, but you're only as good, as my coach used to say, as your last at bat. And your last at bat is today. And again, you have another at bat tomorrow. Make it count. Make it work for you. Number one, consistency trumps everything else. Number two, building your network is the single greatest asset that you can focus on. Number three, question everything, including me, including your politicians, including your boss and your wife and everything. Not skepticism. Actually, I should say a healthy dose of skepticism, not a pessimist, but a skeptic. Number four, your intuition is underrated. Listen to it, act on it. And number five, plan every single morning for 365 days, every single morning and every single night. And the bonus was market yourself better. Marketing is a huge component of the success in your life. All right, you guys, we'll be back next year. Until then, go out there, take action, and become the man you are meant to be.